updated count of how many people are in here and how long the public meeting's gonna go, so if you get caught by the person asking you to stop at the 2-minute line, it's just out of respect for everyone else to be able to vocalize their concerns in this public hearing. If you'd like to wait in line again, if we have more room, you're more than welcome to circle back and do that. Following the 60 minutes of public comment, the meeting will end. Before lining up, are there any questions about how to proceed with the meeting? Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm still unclear. I mean, this is one of, does yes mean no or no mean yes? I'm unclear about, I know that there was a women's group that filed against the legislature for gerrymandering too harshly. So I'd love some clarity about what exactly we're talking about here. Which way is what going? Which way is the way that says we're tired of the partisan gerrymandering nonsense and we want the voters to choose their government, not the government to choose the voters? So which way is that?
Against.
So against, is she right?
So, yes, that's correct. Let me proceed with kind of an overview of the initiative. I might be able to answer some of your questions on that. If not, I'll specifically answer your question on that after that. But on the process of the meeting, does anyone have any questions about the process tonight? Okay, seeing as none, I'm just gonna move on with hopefully answering one of your questions here, sir. So before we begin the clock, let me share my 2 minutes of why I support the initiative. So I support the Utah Constitution and believe in the principles of representative government. Section 9, Article 1 of the Utah State Constitution reads, "The legislature shall divide the state into congressional, legislative, and other districts accordingly." Not a judge, not a governor, not a bureaucrat, but the legislature. And why? Because in our constitutional republic, the legislature is the body closest to the people. Every 2 or 4 years, we elect new members of that legislature. They are our voice in our representative government, and they are accountable to their constituents. Prop 4 created an unelected commission to administer duties specifically granted to the people's representatives in the legislature, and therefore violates the Utah State Constitution. Prop 4 passed in 2018 by less than 1%. Carried across the finish line by contentious ballot questions dealing with medical marijuana and Medicaid expansion. It relied heavily on out-of-state money and groups which are not aligned with the vast majority of Utahns. With all of that, still only passed in one county in Utah, and that being Salt Lake County. The majority of voters in this county, in this region, and in this legislative district voted against Proposition 4. Unfortunately, an effort to share the negative effects of Prop 4 was not made in 2018, leaving Utahns vulnerable to only hearing the favorable options. We're now seeing the effects of these in real time as a judge recently overruled legislative maps, the state constitution designation, and required new maps for the new year. We believe with sufficient scrutiny, the people of Utah would have rejected Proposition 4 in 2018, and that given more information this time, the people will repeal it next year. This is This is about more than just redistricting. This is about protecting our form of government, defending the principles of representative government against judicial overreach and out-of-state interests that seek to change the fabric of communities in Utah. We're going to invite people to be respectful to one another. Representative government and civic participation are hallmarks of our society, and no matter what your opinion on this issue, we're going to thank you for being a part of this process. Did I effectively answer your question? Thank you, sir. So at this point, do I have a timer at 60 for the 60? I need a timer for the 60. Okay, so the timer for the 60's begun, and we'll go ahead and ask everyone who wants to speak to go ahead and line up right here and take 2 minutes, please.
So,
Your name, please.
my name is Cindy Hansen,
Thank you.
and I I'm a constituent in this area. I vote in Washington County.
You know what, you don't,
We can't hear.
yeah, in a normal circumstance, she would have to talk to me, presiding the meeting. If it's okay with the body, I'm gonna have her talk to you because we don't have microphones.
Yes.
Any objections?
No.
Okay,
My
Also,
name,
please restart, yes, thank you.
thank you. My name is Cindy Hansen, and I vote in Washington County. And in 2018, the voters already made a decision about this and decided to vote in favor of Prop 4. We have been drug into court. The citizens of this state have been drawn into court over this matter for the last 8 years, 7 years. And we don't need to have the legislature tell us that they don't think, they think we are uninformed. People are not uninformed. And this is directly antithetical to freedom and the right to vote, and for the people to make their voices heard. And that was a ruling in Utah Supreme Court. And I would just like to ask everyone here to vote against this proposition and do not sign for it. Do not sign to undo what the voters have already said they wanted and have been waiting for 7 years. That's it.
Thank you.
My name is Jorge Pineda.
Will you say,
My name is Jorge Luis Pineda. I'm a Washington County Democrat. I'm a constituent of Hurricane and born and raised here in St. George, Utah. I just want to remind us of Article 1, Section 2 of the Utah Constitution. All political power is inherent to the people. It's important that we remind ourselves that as much as the legislature wants power, it undermines Utahns' constitutional right that we control the power. We control our government. They represent us, not the other way around. All political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority for their equal protection and benefit, and they have the right to alter or reform their government as the public welfare may require. Our public welfare requires a break of the Republican supermajority and representation of democratic values. Equal and equitable representation of Democrats all throughout the state of Utah has been lacking for decades. As a result of that, the public welfare throughout the state of Utah has suffered. In Washington County alone, 20% of children are food insecure. It is time for a change. Proposition 4 was the voters' choice to change the redistricting of this state to allow for accurate and equitable representation. Prop 4 should never have been repealed, and the fact of the matter is that the legislature has wasted double what they proposed will be spent in 10 years on trying to appeal and repeal this effort. It's important that we remind ourselves that the people make the government, not the other way around. Thank you.
My name is Jill Stevens, and I want to say this as clearly as I can. The legislature does not get to erase the people of Utah. Proposition 4 wasn't a partisan stunt. It was a declaration that Utahns are tired of politicians drawing maps that protect themselves instead of the people they serve. We passed Prop 4 out of conviction because we believe in fairness, in integrity, and in a state that belongs to all of us. Thousands of Utahns, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, stood in parking lots and on doorsteps in the cold collecting signatures because we believed our voices mattered. And now the legislature is attempting to not strengthen that voice, but to silence it. They're not fixing a law, they're breaking a promise. And they're telling every Utahn who worked for reform that their effort, their faith, and their voice means nothing. That is not leadership. That is arrogance. The GOP appears to lack both conviction and confidence in their ability to get elected. Otherwise, why would they cheat? Why would they try to manipulate voters? And why would they try to diminish the will of the people? Why? they believe in representational government and accountability, then that's what Prop 4 does. We trusted the legislator to serve us, not themselves. The people of Utah are the sovereign power in the state, not the politicians who fear accountability. This isn't just about maps, it's about morality, about whether you believe democracy still lives here or whether it dies with the irresponsible GOP supermajority.
My name is Mary Grovette. I am here from Cedar City. In 2018, Prop 4 was passed. It was not a partisan issue. This proposition allowed for non-partisan redistricting. The only people who pose it as a partisan issue are the Republican legislature. They're the ones that stand to lose power to the people. So that's why they say it's a partisan issue. Utahns spoke. It may have been a narrow victory, but it was a victory. The people who didn't vote, who didn't come out for or against, didn't have strong opinions about it, the people who showed up had strong opinions about it. And we voted and we made our choice no. Okay? So that's point one. Point two, the approximately $1 million in expenses saved every 10 years. I'd like to know what percentage that is of the normal redistricting costs, because I'm pretty sure that we've put millions of dollars into redistricting and creating the ballots and the, getting everything set up for voting anyway. So with that amount that we would add for making sure that our maps are not gerrymandered is worth it. And then number three, I'd like to know how much money has gone into all of the lawsuits that the legislature is dragging Utah citizens through, that has had to be, the response to MWAG and to the League of Women Voters, when they could have just obeyed the law.
I'm Chad Bennion, I'm from St. George, and I am for the repeal back to the constitutional principles. The reality is there is no such thing as an independent commission. All that you do is drive the politics to where it's not transparent to the public. The people who are appointed are partisan, they have their views, and I see the head shaking, but there's no way you're going to drag politics out of politics. That's the reality. And at least when it was the elected officials doing it, you could hold them accountable at the ballot box. You can't hold an independent commission accountable anywhere. Okay? That's a problem. I can vote against a legislator that I don't like how they vote on a reapportionment issue. I can't an independent commissioner because they're not independent anyway. Okay? So that's the reality of it. And I don't know, is there anybody else in here who's actually sat on a reapportionment committee or a part of the, quote, independent commission? Because I sat on one in 2001. We had no lawsuits. They were all upheld, all the maps, whether it was for the House, the Senate, the congressional districts in 2001. So it's worked really well up until that time. And before we had hundreds of thousands of dollars pour in from out of state. There was no effort to challenge it in 18. So I'm just going to give that counterpoint. There is no way you're going to get politics out of politics, and it is partisan regardless of whether they claim it's independent or not. Thank you.
I appreciate everyone's comments. I really do. And you all have really good points, and you're probably going to teach some people things that they didn't know about. But let everyone hear everyone, okay? We don't need to talk over them and moan and groan over things you don't agree with. I appreciate the applauses and supporting people you do approve of. But the idea is to give everyone an equal voice here. So please try to be considerate all the way through, and I think we can get through this well. Thank you, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Lipe. I'm from St. George. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I've heard various people talk about out-of-state interests. And I just want to point out that the Save Utah for Trump money that's coming into Utah now for these proposition repeals, where's that coming from? Well, that's obviously from out of state also. So let's not talk about that as one versus the other. It's the same thing. Utah's for representative government. What is more representative than the people saying what they want to do? They can be right, they can be wrong, they made their choice. Quit whining about it, quit fighting it. It's what the people wanted. If we're wrong, but that's what we picked. So quit fighting it, let's get on with it, okay? You talking about you can't get partisan out of partisan. Okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit. Right now, there are 4 congressional districts, 4 Republicans. Well, the presidential election went 60-38, 60% versus 38%. Democrats versus Republicans in the state, 26% are Democrats. It seems to me, based on the numbers, and if you look at the Republicans only reflect 53% of the total voters. I have the data today from Utah.gov. Of the 1,742,000 people who are active voters, 916,000 of them are Republicans. So that's 53%. Okay? So it seems to me something's not right here.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Logan Heather, I'm from Rockville, and I think it's important to place this event in the settings of our national, whatever you want to call it, Michigas. Why are we talking about reapportionment in the middle at this time? Why is Texas doing what it did with its reapportionment, its redistricting? I think it's important to pull back and look at the national picture right now. And the national picture is showing that this administration is desecrating some very fundamental values that I hold dear, indeed sacred, as an American. So my father was a Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House for 3 terms in Delaware. I grew up in state legislatures, and I guarantee you that he is rolling over in his grave if you take the top 10 things that Republican Eisenhower's believed and tried to set it against what is happening now, then the term conservative should no longer be used for the Republican Party. They are the bomb throwers. They are the radicals. And put in that perspective of what's happening here, I remember being so proud to hear of these women who got somehow to the court, and the court said, no, we're not going to play that. Utah is not going to be Texas. I was so proud to be a Utahn, and I'm so disappointed in what's happened to my beloved Republican Party and my beloved state of Utah. Thank you.
My name is Sean Hebner. I live in Hurricane, born and raised. The legislature claims that it is the body of government closest to the will of the people. I find it funny that in their efforts to redraw the districts themselves, they chose the map that was least popular among all Utahns who left comments on the maps online. If the legislature wants the voters to trust them, maybe they should stop on trying to undo what we vote for. As a taxpayer, I am happy to have some of my money spent on ensuring the integrity of our representation. I wonder how many taxpayer dollars have been spent on efforts to avoid following through on what we vote for.
I'm Julie Halverson, a lifelong Utah resident, born in northern Utah, moved here 9 years ago, and I have watched over the years how the legislature has chipped away at our ability to do propositions and initiatives. And finally, in 2018, we were successful
in a proposition, Proposition 4, and there were other propositions at that same time. I am so frustrated and disappointed that we have had to go through these 7 years court battles over something that I thought we had clearly spoken about as Utah citizens and voters. And I'm just severely disappointed, and I will tell you, I sent emails to the 2 representatives when this last go round in the maps that the legislature chose over and above what the citizens wanted. I did not get a word back from either of those
That's what happens.
representatives. So don't give me this, that they're representing me and that they listen to me, because they don't.
I appreciate all everybody being here. And I hear your concern.
Name?
Willie Billings, sorry. I understand your concerns, and I've been involved in this process, not as a legislator, but in watching and feeling frustrated in the past about not being listened to, but I've also dug deep enough into it over a number of years where I'm frustrated with the petitions, the signature gathering type of situation that's out there. I've seen them work back here several years ago when the state legislature tried to create a whole new tax, if you maybe remember that. They were doing a sales tax on our services. And the messaging went out really accurately there because they were very clear that we don't want that to take place. The people won in that one. And, but I've also seen different signature gathering efforts, either by a ballot initiative or signature gathering candidates that want to bypass the system and get on the primary ballot. And I've actually been doing it long enough where people come by my house, they knock on my door and I play dumb, tell me about this. And I already know about it because I'm heavily involved in it. And I just see so many people come to me and deliver information that is not accurate. I like the signature gathering for the candidates. I've had multiple times where they come knock on my door and I said, well, tell me about this. Well, your vote should count, shouldn't it? Yeah. Well, if you don't sign this, your vote doesn't count. That's not true. And they just say things that aren't actually accurate because they're hiring these people to go gather these signatures. And I'm frustrated. We need to get on top of how we do those operations to make sure that what's being said to the public is accurate. And so I support our Utah State Constitution. And the Utah State Constitution says that the state legislature draws those lines. And so I'm not for judges overriding our state constitution.
Thanks for your time. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Linda Green. Can you hear me in the back? I'm a resident of Laverkin, and tonight we said the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. It says the words, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And I'm here to say that this country is incredibly divided, and we need to do everything in our power to bring people back together, neighbors to neighbors. And gerrymandering must be really effective because everybody is doing it. And so I believe it has really divided us. I believe that for those people that it doesn't serve, their vote isn't counted. Technically it's counted, but not really. In 2018, Utahns chose to not gerrymander. And for the last 7 years, our state has been trying to repeal that ballot initiative. I urge everyone to vote against the repeal.
My name is Lori Holmes, I'm from St. George. I don't have a real in-depth understanding except to say, or to ask this question, what will happen to Salt Lake City, the one little tiny blue dot in this state, if these guys are successful in repealing Prop 4? Utah will be red, there will be no blue, and it will be bloody red.
I wanted to stand up again since there was no one in line. I came for a second time, but I encourage all of you to stand up and
It's on the recording, just.
and say your thoughts too. Here a second time. My name is Mary Grobet from Cedar City. I wanted to talk about the constitutionality of all of this, because the Utah Constitution does give the legislature the power to draw maps, but it also gives the Utah people the power to reform government. And we are here to reform our government, Proposition 4, and they are refusing to be reformed. Now, the Utah Supreme Court has said that the changes that they made after Prop 4 was passed were not made for a substantive reason. Essentially, they did not have a justification for not following through with Proposition 4. So I would say we're not going back to constitutionality if this ballot is passed to repeal that commission. We're actually just supporting the lawlessness against the Constitution of Utah. And I would just say we need to actually get to see what our life is like in Utah with Prop 4 passed. They have never, not once, given it a chance. And also, I know that the legislature can draw maps according to Prop 4 because they just did. So they're the ones that drew them. We should use it.
My name is Bill Sherritt. I'll try to speak loud enough so you don't have to worry about what I'm saying. I've spent 22 and a half years in prison because of the law changes that the legislature has made. They're making more changes since 2000, which everyone seems to be when everything should be okay, by taking away criminal codes against public officials. For public officials to abuse their office, in 2002 they removed all responsibility for the Utah legislature, for Utah governmental actors. And this is the end result. They've just taken, and taken. Yes, 2000 was a pivotal year for the state of Utah. I'm also a downwinder. I grew up hearing the thunder and seeing the flashes of light when I was a kid. I saw a government vehicle parked down the road. When we would walk past it on our way to the school bus, he had a Geiger counter. And as we're walking past, it went off and pegged the thing. He jumped in the car and took off. And here you got 4 young kids going to school. He didn't care. That's fine. That's not fine. If you want Utah to be accountable, you've got to start with putting the criminal responsibility against the government officials, because they don't have the right to take our rights away. They don't. And what he said, he stood right here and straight lied to you about what this meeting was about. He gave his perspective. And you see how calmly he did that? And the smug look on his face when he did it? I did. And I won't forget any of his. I'll give you one number.
No, Bill, if you want to say something else, please go back to the line right now. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Alexis Enns, I'm from Santa Clara, Utah. Every generation of Utahns face the test of courage. Ours is here. Utah was built by pioneers who left everything behind to live free, to govern themselves, not to be ruled by outsiders. I believe that same spirit is being tested today. Out-of-state interests are funding initiatives to rewrite our Constitution. the very freedom our pioneers fought for. Nearly 70% of Better Boundaries, this Prop 4, that funding came from outside the state of Utah. This wasn't homegrown. Yes, there is money coming in to help fund an initiative to overturn it, but that money is coming in to help us save our Constitution, not tear it down. Utah was founded on faith, family, freedom, self-governance. We are a constitutional republic, not a playground for outside money. Direct democracy can be bought. As you heard, 70% of it came from outside the state. Should Utah's governance and values be shaped by out-of-state interests? If one ballot initiative, can rewrite our Constitution, no liberty is safe. Now is the time to stand together for Utah's future. For those who care about democracy, Prop 4 isn't a one-and-done process. Democracy is a process. We've heard a lot about the will of the people. Why not let them have their say? Now that Utahns have seen the effects of judicial overreach and the role of unelected commissions from Prop 4, it's only fair to let voters weigh in on this initiative. Please, get informed, get involved. I'm ready to sign on.
Thank you.
My name is Alyssa Knighton. I grew up in Salt Lake, but I've been down here for 15 years. And I do not feel like I am represented by my congressman. I have attended 3 of the 4 town hall meetings that Celeste Malloy has held over the phone because she won't face us in person. And the last one that I went to, I asked a question about what she was going to do for federal employees during the shutdown, and I was censored. They would not let me ask, like, her interns would not let me ask that question. And I won't say where I work, but I'm a federal employee myself. I'm going on 33 days without a paycheck because of the shutdown. And I'm the only one in my household. I live on a single income. And also John Curtis has blocked my phone number. So no one in the state of Utah that represents us cares about us, and that makes me rage.
My name's Buck Dynas. I'm from St. George, Utah. I'm a simple guy. I kind of want to take this back to something simple. What is it that Proposition 4 was established? What did we vote for it to do? To establish an independent redistricting commission to create fair maps. What do we want? We want fair maps, not for Democrats, not for Republicans. We want fair maps to protect us all, so that everybody has that. This isn't, this is, we've seen what's going on. We can't trust our politicians to create fair maps for us. That's why we wanted an independent commission. We can have fairer maps. We can have, yeah, nod your head. We can have fairer maps with independent commission. We still have, nobody's free of opinions. But our politicians have a self-interest in preserving the power and their roles.
I won't speak as long as I did last time.
Hey, Bill, will you just state your name for the record?
And the last,
Bill, will you please state your name for the record? It's just all.
my name is Bill Sherritt,
Thank you.
William Henry Sherritt,
Yep. These will all just be transcribed.
born in 1951 in Cedar City, grew up in Utah, watched this state become polluted. And I'm talking air pollution, I'm talking dirt pollution, I'm talking legislative pollution, I'm talking not the state I was born in, not the state I was proud to stand up and say, yes, I'm a member of this state. There has never, until 2 years ago, been a ruling in the Utah Supreme Court against the legislature of the state of Utah. Never. Because they stayed within the bounds of the Constitution. In the last 2 years, there have been 4 rulings. And there's 2 more coming when we complete this program, and all of them say the legislature acted unconstitutionally and against the rights of the citizens.
Thank you.
Sorry, William Billings again. I just wanted to recap something real quick. This sweet lady right here, she said it very passionately, and you're actually accurate in that we should have the ability as citizens to go in and if you want to gather the signatures and overturn something, but that's what they're asking to do again. So if we did it before and we upheld Prop 4, why are you against the citizens now that Prop 4 is here, asking the citizens to vote again? Just want to pose that question. Think about that.
Why?
Then you can do it again.
Why?
Jeffrey Light,
Let's listen to him.
Jeffrey Light, St. George, I can answer that question. Well, I forget what I was gonna say.
He'll come back to you, Jeff. It's
Answer the
all right.
question.
You were gonna ask the question.
I was gonna answer, what was the question again?
You can do it again.
If they voted on it before, and now they want to have another initiative to vote on it again now that it's out, why is it not good to do it a second time? Under these conditions.
My understanding, I wasn't here at the time, my understanding was it was a grassroots initiative the first time. The second time, Mike Lee is one of the leaders of the thing, along with Donald Trump Jr. And you're talking about out-of-state money, you're talking about paid collectors, and you were talking about incorrect information being told to people. Those paid collectors are paid working for Trump, okay? So that's the difference. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
My name is Cindy Hansen. I am a voter in Washington County. And I would just like to respond to the woman who spoke earlier, standing on the shoulders of pioneers, of Utah pioneers. My great-great-grandfather founded the city of Washington. He was asked to do so by Brigham Young with the help of another man. And I don't think that standing on the shoulders of the Utah pioneers to prove your point is very honest. And I would like you guys to sit down and understand that the Utah pioneers likely would not have wanted women to vote. And I would just like to say that the gerrymandering dilutes my vote. And I want that changed. And I want it changed in accordance to Prop 4, like we already voted on and we already settled on. And to answer your question about why shouldn't we vote on it again? Because it's a waste of everyone's time, and it's a waste of taxpayer money, and it's a waste. It's telling people that what they said in the first place doesn't matter and that they're uninformed, and that's not okay. That is not okay. Also, it is not judicial overreach for the Utah Supreme Court to adjudicate a matter of constitutionality within the state of Utah. That is their literal job.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Meredith. I also from Washington County. I found out about this meeting 50 minutes ago, and I dropped everything at home and brought my newborn to come listen and make my voice heard. This is such an important time in our state's history. The people voted for fair maps, and they should have them. I don't understand why the Utah GOP is trying to circumvent our Utah State Court, Supreme Court, who have ordered them to follow Prop 4. It is a waste of our time to go back and repeal this. We need to listen to our voters. And if you're going to try to repeal Prop 4, you're disenfranchising us. So listen to the people We get to decide who represents us, not you.
My name is Jorge Pineda, Washington County Democrat. I just want to remind my Republican colleagues that last year in November, they tried to do the same thing they're doing now with Proposition D, which was ruled unconstitutional.
Amendment D.
Sorry, what?
Amendment D.
D, my apologies, which was ruled by Justice Hagan said, Amendment D would alter the balance and give the legislature unfettered constitutional authority to append or repeal any initiative, including those that reform the government. But this ballot title does not disclose this fundamental change. Our Republican colleagues will continue to use buzzwords and doublespeak to lie, saying that they are strengthening the Utah Constitution and strengthening representation while actively stripping it away from us. It's important to remind ourselves why they will continue to lie and usurp power to maintain their control. Amendment D was their response to Proposition 4. It's important that we uphold these values, and it's important that we remind ourselves of the truth. They continue to use this type of doublespeak and confusing language that they're protecting the Constitution while actively stripping us of our rights. Remind ourselves, what is the purpose of government? To represent the people and adequately protect us, right? They're failing in every metric, and that's what they're scared of. They're scared that we're waking up to their failures. Children going hungry, people homeless, women being battered and abused daily. They're afraid of the truth of the culture and state that they have created and founded upon on those very principles of the pioneers. We want a different Utah that fosters change and transition that actually represents every Utahn equally and equitably. It's important that women and people of color also have a seat at the table, not just white Mormons. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Valerie Jones, from St. George, Utah, born on the Navajo Reservation in Arizona. Okay, so I'm new to all this and learning a lot, but, so I looked up the word indivisible, and it means one country and for it not to be broken. I view that as a body, like if you have a fracture or whatever, it's like the rest of the appendages help that for it to be healed. I don't see what is so difficult always seeing what is right or wrong, but I really believe that we, even if I am new with this, I feel like I'm important to hear me out, even though I may not know a lot of things, but you know what, I'm learning, but on top of that, you guys can learn too, right? So why not us, I don't understand why it has to be like a big fight when, your leg can't just be like on its own. We need to be one as together. And I feel like ever so long ago, just learning about my ancestors, everything that we have been told and the treaties that we have signed, we have been basically just didn't mean nothing. And we talk about honesty and saying what our word is, and I think we just need to just see the basic is that, just to be honest and to listen to us, the people, but it seems like the higher you go up, it gets more corrupted. And I don't know why, but I do know like where I'm at and the people that I talk to, and I feel like we're all in the same. So let's just go as one and not make it more difficult than it is.
Chad Van in St. George. Couple things. I think it's important for us all to be represented. That's why we have elections. That's why we vote for candidates or oppose candidates, oppose issues or for issues. But I'm going to take a little exception to a couple of things for a second, because I see us forgetting history or rewriting history. And I'm also the president of the Washington County Historical Society this year. Utah was actually the first territory where women had the right to vote. We weren't the first state, because Wyoming became a state before Utah, but this was the first territory in all of the United States where women were granted the right to vote. So you don't have to have people come to your door to just BS you, okay? But the reality is, we should be remembering our history. We should be remembering the things that have happened. Because if we don't, if we take down all the Civil War statues, if we take down the things that were bad that were happening, we'll forget about it. And then we'll probably be doomed to repeat it, because people who don't remember their past make the same mistakes again and again. And I hope we don't. I think it's important when people have an issue that they're passionate about, concerned about, hey, if somebody wants to put it on the ballot again, great. If they want to do it again in the future because they think something needs to be changed, we'll do it again then too. Because that's the legislative process. Just like the legislators, they can go put an issue before the session this year, and if it fails, well, they can bring it back. Or if there was something that passed a long time ago and it needs to be repealed, it can be repealed too. That needs to happen, because things change. And I'm for this issue for that reason, because we are a republic, and it needs to be, and I hope we say that too, into the future. So, thank you.
Alexis at Santa Clara. I appreciate Chad's remarks about some of our awesome heritage, and I would also like to object to the pioneers not wanting women to vote. In fact, if you follow at all the news, Utah sent a statue of Martha Hughes Cannon, the first female senator in the United States. They sent her statue to DC to represent Utah this year. So, kind of a special thing. I think that our pioneer ancestors and our pioneer heritage very much would have wanted not only women to vote, but to participate in this process, which is why it was so important for me to come here tonight. As Chad said as well, and I said this earlier, democracy, it's not a one and done process, right? If people feel that they are not being served by Prop 4, and I would suggest to you the majority of Utahns do feel this way. In fact, the Deseret News reported that this week. So if the majority of Utahns already feel, before this initiative can even, before packets can even go out, that Prop 4 is not serving the state of Utah, then yes, we the people as citizens, we deserve the right to sign the initiative and allow this to be appealed to voters again. So that's important. Democracy is a process. The majority of Utahns, they don't want their constitution upended and their representative government turned into a direct democracy. And that is the threat that we are seeing here. We've seen the overreach from judges and unelected commissions, two groups that have no accountability to Utah voters. We want to keep redistricting where the Constitution put it, with Utah's elected, accountable representatives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, can I have a point of personal privilege? I don't want to speak to the thing.
No.
You know,
No.
He's talking to me,
Yeah.
and I'm conducting the meeting.
Just a point of personal
No,
privilege.
I'd ask if you'll wait for 4 more minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Jeez Louise.
Jorge Luis, Washington County Democrat. Again, Republicans are focused on performance superficial politics. Bringing in a statute doesn't take away the fact that Utah has ranked last in women's equality year after year in the 3 main categories: workplace, environment, education, and health, and political empowerment. A statute's fine, but when women continue to be domestically abused, lack equitable representation in the workplace, it doesn't really matter. What matters is actual impact on people's lives, not statutes. And it's important that we remind ourselves the first time the Republic, like I said, the last time they tried to do this last-ditch attempt, it was a failure. They didn't inform enough counties in time. They failed to get their newspapers sent out in time, and it was a failed initiative. They are completely scattered, disorganized, and chaotic, because that is now the Republican Party. Just as this effort is chaotic, disorganized, and the last-ditch attempt, they wait till the very last second to post these meetings. They wait till the very last second to tell you when and where it's going to be at, so you don't come. They are a performative party that's entirely intended on protecting their supermajority and their power. If we really cared about protecting each other, then we would actually be ranked higher when it comes to women's equality. It's a simple question. We have to focus on the facts of what really happens in this state and not focus on the performative past. Women are not treated equally or protected equally in this state. And to hear a woman sit up here and tell us that a statute will change all of that and make it equal and equitable, it's a joke. It's important that we actually put policies towards people and not policies towards Republicans' pockets. It's important that we remind ourselves to protect and represent the people equally, not just Republican, white men. Women deserve equal and just as much of a chance to make it in this state because they continue to be the majority population of this country. There's a reason why states like Utah are hinged on protecting their patriarchal power. It's because women are just as much of a threat to their power as people of color and minorities. It's important that we remind ourselves of the fact that each and every single one of us does have the power and the right to reform and represent ourselves in the government.
Leon Gubler, Washington County. So I attend a lot of these meetings, and this man, good man, has brought up a point that I keep missing. In all these meetings I've attended, I have never ever attended the one where they say, we're only gonna hear from white Mormon men now, eliminate all the women. Where do these eliminate the women and eliminate the people of color meetings take place? Because I've never ever seen this. Everyone I've ever been,
Town Hall.
it's been all inclusive, and the women have full representation at all of these. I just don't understand where I'm missing this. And so what do I got to do to get invited to the white man only party?
You're already in it.
I don't think it exists.
You're in it.
It doesn't exist. If you guys want to participate and need representation, show up and represent your point of view. We've never ever eliminated anybody.
You can't see the forest for the trees, man. I used to be you.
Well, wake up.
You're not gonna change it. No, we're not going there. So come on up, please.
I don't have anything clarifying that's gonna clarify anything. I lost my wife to the bombs over the mountain 23 years ago, mother of my 11 children. And so we all suffer from the indiscretion, the bad judgment of a lot of other people. That's part of being moral, isn't it? I think one of the things that we can best do is not allow our heart to get filled with animosity or accusations to another person. Bitterness just never builds anybody. And it's important to be able to stand firmly with the facts and defend ourselves. But I really suggest to be very careful that the things we allow into our heart, because it affects everything, and it will bitter us. I have a family that's full of bitterness. It just hurts him. It's the poison we give to ourselves that we think is going to hurt them. So the word is, realize we're all children of the same Creator. We all have relationships. Family is important. We love our children. I think we have to keep that foremost. And we might disagree. I like green, you hate red. Big deal. We're going to keep that foremost. My brother's in the legislature a long time ago. He spoke before the bankers. The bankers wanted a certain law, and he was working for a credit union and trying to make things equal. He spoke to all the presidents of the banks. He said, I'll get back with you before I vote on this. Well, he went to the legislature 2 days later, it was brought up. He had no time to do anything. He couldn't report back, but he's a liar. So we have to realize there's so many instances, things that bother legislators, both sides of the aisle. And I will say that I watched them put in hours and hours, phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to make people happy. That's both sides. I'm not one side or the other. I think if we want to do something, maybe we can pray our hearts are pure and pray for them. If they're stupid, they'll get smart.
I'm Jill Stevens. I live in St. George, but I was born in Cedar City, and I'm also a downwinder with cancer. I want to say that somebody said something about direct democracy as if it was a bad thing, and I was like, oh my God, that's horrifying. Direct democracy is the purest form of democracy. And, you know, we vote for a representative form of government, and that's all good and well, but it's people powered. It's not legislative powered. It should be anyway. I wanted to say that, no, I don't trust this legislature at all, not anymore. My 95-year-old father, who's in the Southern Utah Veterans Home, he was on the front lines of Korea. And he's absolutely disgusted, but his vote was just taken away. And that is because he's not mobile any longer. He can't get out and about. So, you know, in 2 years, he won't be able to vote because his ID is long since expired and he can't get out of the facility to go get one. So I just really wonder, you know, whatever happened in Utah, the Utah that I was raised in, that focused on honesty and integrity and fair play, whatever happened to it? Because now it's just win by whatever means is necessary, and it's disgusting and it's corrupt and it needs to stop.
My name is Celeste Myers. I live in Kane County. I did not drive the farthest to be here, though. There's a gentleman from Salt Lake County back there. It's important to me in my life to honor all individuals, see you as humans with value, and to speak the truth to the best of my ability. I've heard some things tonight that were true and some other things that were not as true, and were more of talking points meant to, or with the effect of dividing people further. And for example, I wanted to speak to women don't have a voice. So I'm a politician, I'm a county commissioner, I have a lot of power, I'm the chief executive of my county. I'm joined by 2 other chief executives of my county. We are the legislative body as well. We're all women. Woohoo! I am, what is this?
I'm proud, no, I'm proud, sorry.
And so,
It's clapping.
let me get finished with my talk and then we can talk more. But, I'm not a Mormon. I'm not fully white. I'm not sure where this narrative is coming from. The very first in the entire United States, the very first state senator was in the state of Utah. That was a woman, Martha Hughes Cannon. The very first woman to pass a vote in a presidential election in the entire nation was a Utah woman. When women were given the vote before any other place in the entire Union, the entire United States, it was because of men, white Mormon men to be frank, who voted to give women the vote no matter the consequences, even if it meant they're going to lose statehood. So I applaud that. I'm totally encouraged by that. I love that. I don't know how that conversation got into this, but it just seems like a talking point. Thank you very much for hearing me.
I'm not going to be long this time. Alexis at Santa Clara. I appreciate Celeste helping us with the very important details there with Utah's history. I think details matter, and accurate, honest history also matters. We don't need history with a spin on it that represents only certain groups. So, but I really just wanted to stand up here and say that I actually don't think a statue in Washington, D.C. I believe somebody maybe tried to put some words in my mouth. I don't believe a statue in Washington, D.C. or that kind of performative suggestion is what matters or what makes this okay.
Speak up, please, we're having difficult hearing.
Okay, I've never been accused of being soft-spoken, so this is great. I was saying I don't believe a statue is what makes this okay. Actually, what I think makes this okay is that democracy works, that we have processes like this in place that allow people, when somebody knocks on your door, to sign or not sign, that allow people, when they get a ballot, to vote for it or vote against it. And having processes like this in place and having conversations like this, even if it does feel polarized, all of this is actually very healthy, very normal. I know in today's day and age you hear a lot of, oh, we've never been this divided. Yes, we have. We went through a civil war. That's happened. So yes, we've been divided as a country before, but if there's anything that I've seen from America, it's that we learn we grow, we figure out the best way to move forward, and we do that because we're willing to come and participate in this meeting. So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Thank you for being here and being a part of this.
Hello everyone. My name is Luke. I'm from St. George, Utah. And I just want to
You're doing great.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming here tonight and voicing your opinion, no matter what it is, after they abruptly canceled the last Proposition 4 meeting a couple days ago. I think I have called and emailed my representatives, and none of them have responded to me. I've been put through different channels and haven't been able to have my voice heard. But I think they're doing that because they're scared, and I think that they know that their constituents are against them, and that they know what they're doing is wrong. And I think we just need to keep putting pressure on them at every opportunity we can. And that's it. Thank you.
About 2 minutes left. Alexis? 4? Okay, we can do 2 more.
Mary Gravett, Cedar City. I just want to ask a question, which is, let's say that this gets on the ballot for next year and the people of Utah vote against it. Is the legislature going to accept that? Because we have seen for the last 7 years, zero effort on their part to follow the law until this year when the Supreme Court made them. And then it's followed up by these additional efforts to not have to do what the people of Utah asked them to do. They are the ones with the power, and if they are going to just continue to try to sidestep efforts to have fair districting maps, then I don't think they deserve the chance to have it put before the people again, because they're just not going to accept it.
Logan Hebner, Rockville. Bear with me. In 1987, 250 Americans walked from Leningrad to Moscow, protesting the nuclear arms race. I was, what President Trump would call lefty, lunatic, commie, pinko, Marxist, homosexual, the whole thing. And we were. But within 4 days of being in the Soviet Union, we were so offended by what we were experiencing there that this wild American spirit came out of us. It surprised us. We stood in front of KGB vans. We were being interviewed, and we changed the whole question format and got right in their faces. We brought refuseniks in to speak with us. Everyone in this room would have been proud of us because this thing came out of us, this American wild spirit. And my hope, I don't know what line he hasn't crossed for you to still support this administration. He's crossed every conceivable line in my mind. He's desecrated the most sacred things about America. But my hope is this, is that at some point, everyone in this room, that this American thing will just come flying out of us, and that left and right, that we will be united in this spirit, because it's a beautiful, rare thing that we have, and we're losing it. Thank you.
This will be our last one.
Last one, wow, what an honor. Celeste Myers, Kane County. I also forgot to mention something in my fervor, and that is that the very first all-women town council was in Kane County, our county where I reside, in Kanab, Utah. They were voted in even before women had an ability to vote legally, because all of the men who had the ability to vote voted in those females. And I just want that to be known, and I feel like people should be proud. I'm so proud of you all for participating in this and coming and speaking and thank you so much. This really means a lot to have this engagement and discussion, and I'm still learning too. So thank you all very much. And I don't know if there's time for a question, but my question would be, why aren't the legislators pushing this? Why is it people who, is this a GOP state
It's
legislature thing? Or
Private
is this?
citizens are the
Yeah.
ones who put forward these initiatives.
So should people expect to hear from their legislators on this? I tried to find out some more info, and I was told it was a no zone, no talk zone from the legislators.
Yeah, I think that's the wisest move on their behalf right now.
Yeah, interesting. Okay,
So really, are you done, Celeste?
I could be.
And I can address that for you. Are you done?
I could.
We just did. Okay, so, we're gonna have to go ahead and wrap up. You had a point of order?
Just a point of personal privilege.
Clarification? Okay.
Yeah, well, not clarification, personal privilege.
Perfect.
And it's in behalf of all of you. I love this idea that we can get together and debate our ideas and disagree. That's fantastic. That's what makes this whole process go. And I have a position, and you have positions, and I've listened to, and you're really good, by the way. In fact, I told you that a minute ago.
Yeah, you're so good too.
So, but I'm not, you guys, but I'm not mad at her.
Oh, good.
At all. I'm not mad at anybody. And I want us to try to do the best we can to keep our emotions to the point where we can work together even though we disagree, and not be disrespectful in that, but be respectful in those disagreements, because at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters in reality. And we love you, and we want you to love us, sincerely.
Okay.
So let's do everything we can, okay?
Thank you, Will. So, I really appreciate that everyone was really kind to each other. There were a lot of comments, and now this is my chance to pontificate for a moment. There were a lot of comments about the division in this country, and there is a lot of division that's going on. We just had somebody shot and assassinated for exercising free speech. The most disgusting things I think we've seen in how long? A father, for having dialogue, something we're trying to do right here. And we avert all of the challenges when we start to have the dialogue. That's when we're able to actually figure it out. I love some of Mary's comments. You were great. Is it Mary? Yeah. Great comments. I appreciate your comments. I learned a lot from each one of you, and I appreciate your situation. I hope this ends soon. I'm sorry. But I think that there's one thing that we can all take away from this, is that this ended up being a very civil meeting, and I'm so grateful for that. There are going to be contentions. I don't think anybody's mind was changed tonight. Am I wrong? No, you all came in with your mind made up, as you should, and you wanted to have that public meeting, and that's what we get to do here. And I'm so grateful for that. I can't take any comments at this time.
No questions?
You know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and take questions. I'm gonna go ahead and end the public hearing at this point. If you'd like to entertain some questions, I do reserve the right to deny them. And you wanna go first, sir?
Yeah, just had a question. How are the results of this hearing going to be used? Who's going to hear them? Are they gonna be, weighted in terms of opinion? What's gonna be done with this?
I love that question. So, one, this is not a court. This is not a jury. I'm not trying to persuade a jury. I'm not trying to persuade anybody in this room. Public hearing sometimes gets that misperception. People get very passionate and they feel like they're trying to change somebody's mind. The process that we have here is a public hearing, which is required by state law to allow the public to speak. Now these minutes, all of these minutes, get presented to the legislature. And the legislature makes decisions. They're supposed to listen to these minutes. I know I do. And you're supposed to listen to your constituents. I know I do. And so does Celeste. And it's important that we have these meetings to get your voice heard. Now, you may walk away feeling like you didn't get it heard or someone didn't get back to you, and those things are very frustrating, and I'm very sorry for that. But it's important that we have these public hearings for that purpose. We're not changing anybody's mind. So I appreciate that question, because a lot of people do come in here thinking that is the intent, that we're doing a jury trial, and that's not the case. And you had a question, sir?
Oh, no, I was just saying, thank you for hosting
Oh,
us.
thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I had friends that wanted to be here today, but they just learned about it today and they were out of town. Is there a way that they can provide their comment in a written form to someone
Yeah.
if they couldn't be here?
You know what?
There's a meeting in Parowan.
Yeah, there's a meeting in 10 more days. We're gonna have another one up in Parowan.
I understand that, but is there a way that they can do it in writing? Because in
Okay.
some cases, they're not gonna be able to go to Parowan.
So what I have here is we do have a website that's available. I don't know if there is contact information that you can send to it. You know?
No, I was just gonna say, one of the things that could happen too, if they wanted to make public comment, have them send their comments with somebody to read them on their behalf at the meeting, if they can. I don't know if there's.
So what I'll recommend is, I'm on the suit personally. If you want my contact information, I will take it. Yeah, or I will take their comments and you can have my cell phone, whatever you want. Okay? Yeah, of course. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question. Why is the Utah GOP trying to circumvent the Utah Supreme Court's judgment in upholding Prop 4?
I
feel like they're trying to instill some distrust in the court system, and that really bothers me as a Utah voter.
Okay, very fair question, and I think it's a misperception. They're actually exercising the exact thing that the Utah Supreme Court has exercised. Now, one of the problems that we do see is that the judicial branch should not be overreaching into the legislative branch, which
Vice versa.
Excuse me?
Vice versa.
Sure, and which is exactly what the Utah State Constitution says. So if you understood and you came in a little bit late, so I did read off what the objectives were of our initiative and our efforts, and it is to do the exact same thing that was just done, which received Supreme Court ruling for the state of Utah. And so it's not an override of the Supreme Court, it's doing the exact same thing that was just done.
I feel like it is instilling some distrust in the Utah Supreme Court because of past things that have happened between the Utah legislature and the Utah Supreme Court. And our Utah governors, who are Republicans, have appointed these judges. So I don't understand why we are not following the rulings. It creates a lot of distrust.
Yeah, there is no one has disobeyed a Supreme Court justice ruling at all. Do you know of one?
Sorry?
Do you know of a Supreme Court ruling that's been disregarded?
I mean, you guys tried to appeal this.
No, that's a difference. An appeal is a lot
There have
different.
been other instances I can't recall off the top of my head, but I haven't.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, sir.
If you had to pick between either of the plaintiff maps, which would you choose?
So I did actually look at the maps. Now, if you want a lesson on Supreme Court rulings, I'll just pontificate about that for a moment, but I'll also give you some facts. So gerrymandering has been going on for a very long time. It's actually legal, and it has a Supreme Court justice ruling from the United States Supreme Court that gerrymandering is very legal. Now, the reason you can't do it is over race. You cannot gerrymander over race, and that is in the Supreme Court ruling. All of the other states exercise on their constitution gerrymandering authority within the legislature. So you're seeing it, I think some people brought it up in Florida, in Texas, and California. Yes. Now, think about the ramifications of this if you want to talk about the ripple effect. This matters constitutionally across the country because we are putting different players in seats for different sides of the same bird. I don't sit on one side or the other and try to point fingers at the other, if you haven't noticed so far. What I do notice is that we do get weights that happen in the House, and that's what this is all about, and that's why the outside money has come in to try and flip a seat in a Supreme Court that did have a vulnerability. And so that's the effort to try and push back on it. And I appreciate the question, but the reality is the gerrymandering, the way it has been set up and the way it is still set up, I think it needs to reside with the people. And that's why I'm in support of this effort. I do want to see the Constitution held within the state of Utah. I do wanna see the people's voice heard. I don't believe that the first initiative, was actually done appropriately. That's my opinion, and I think others have an opposite. But this one's going through the exact same process.
So let me rephrase, if Judge Gibson were to pick between either plaintiff maps, which one would your organization prefer she pick?
I can't speak for the organization. I chose MAPC.
So not the plaintiff maps.
That was the one I chose, yes. But I can't speak for the organization. Yes, sir.
Isn't, like you mentioned gerrymandering being legal, which I know that's the case by Supreme Court law. Wasn't Prop 4 specifically about it not being legal, but we don't like it, we don't think it's a moral choice, and it's better represented by fair maps? And so we know that it's legal, and we're trying to make it not that in Utah via Prop 4.
Okay, a little double speak there, and I'm gonna clarify. So, according to whose definition is fair?
Like, both parties are able to
Yeah,
come
see,
together.
that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And I think it was brought up earlier by someone else's comment. And so, for that, and that is speaking, on a pure, nothing's getting through that. There's no water coming into this, there's just a pure, case of law. And the fact of the matter is that who is fair and what is fair? And so the reality is that the Prop 4 came through, they did try to do to circumvent. I don't agree with the way that that was done either. The Supreme Court of Utah made another ruling that an outside committee was supposed to do this, which violates our state constitution. And so, in my opinion, that pathway wasn't done right. And I believe that to make sure that the people are able to be heard, we don't go by whose opinion is fair and whose isn't, we let the voters speak for it.
So you said you didn't support Amendment D. Did you support the very briefly proposed indirect initiative to overturn Prop 4 that was then declared likely unconstitutional by the Lieutenant Governor Henderson?
I saw it. You're asking my opinion or the committee's opinion?
Yes, just you.
I didn't. Okay. Don't harm me.
No, I'm sorry. No. I'm trying to keep things amicable.
Yeah, no, I read it. I did not agree with it, and I was vocal about it. I didn't think the pathway that they chose was the right legal path.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Earlier you said by whose definition of fair. The whole point of an independent commission, as I understand, and I could be wrong here, but the point is it's the independent commission's opinion. They have colleges from Caltech, from the U of U, from Stanford, from these different colleges, where professors have come out and said that the way the independent commission is judging these maps by proportionality, by these different metrics, that it's objectively mathematically fair. Like that's not anyone's opinion of who's fair. It's an independent mathematical commission. That's who's fair. I think that was what, right?
Is that where you're going?
Right.
So, no, I appreciate that perspective. It also said in there how many maps were considered fair out of that, which were quite a few. And so which one of those?
You judge differently.
Yeah, which one of those do we go with? Now, the other thing that, in my political perspective and legal perspective, is they have no accountability.
Isn't it public though? You can check their maps. That's like the reason of an independent commission is because you can just go and see what was their map.
Yeah, the rules that dictated the math, that put the factors into the equation. Yeah, that put the factors into the equation were rivers, roads. We had other factors that were influencing the factors that came out with the equation. And so, is that fair? I don't know.
I was considering proportionality where.
That was one factor.
There was a factor.
Yeah.
That is an example of a very objective factor. That
One,
can't
yes, I
be
don't
influenced
disagree.
by how.
No, that's a very good point. And so the matter of fair, I think, comes down to the voter, the voice of the people. The voice of the people the first time, even though it's a slight margin, voted for Prop 4. We're going at it again. We don't believe that that was the voice of the people. In fact, it was even, I think, surfaced recently about a Deseret News article that came out. The survey people that came out and said, no, we don't think that that's where we want to be. I can tell you what's awesome is when you talk to judges about whether the Constitution is textual or living, you're going to get two different opinions every time. You're going to see people who are going to want to rule in the case of, hey, the Constitution is for today, or the Constitution was from 1776. So, those are just different perspectives that are gonna, be interpreted by a court. Thank you. Any other questions that I can field for you? Okay. Hey, again, thank you so very much for everyone showing up and being civil. I really appreciate the conversation.